If you thought Chef Ramsay was intense, wait till you see this guy. The Menu is a movie that really hasn't had a lot of promotion, which is surprising when you consider its well-known cast including Anya-Taylor-Joy, Ray Fiennes, Nicholas Hoult, and John Leguizamo. I went into it not having seen the trailer, and I think my experience with this movie was all the better for it. I was expecting a food-centric movie with a Hell's Kitchen type feel, but what I got was a dark, twisted thriller that has an unexpected amount of laughs as well. Yeah, the humor actually flows pretty naturally with all the insane events taking place here. As a side note, in my theater, there was a family sitting in my row that brought their 3 young kids to this one, and guys, don't bring your kids to see this movie. It definitely earns its R rating. The movie starts innocently enough, with young couple Tyler and Margot sailing to the private island of celebrity chef Julian Slowik, where he is to have a special menu prepared for them. And if there's anything Enter the Dragon taught me, it's that you should never accept an invite to a private island owned by an eccentric man. From the very beginning, it's clear that Margot, played by Anya-Taylor-Joy, is the only character in this movie living on the planet Earth. Joy, coming off a delightfully bizarre performance in The Northman, essentially plays an audience stand-in here. She's the person who makes the sensible statements and asks the obvious questions, while everyone else is blissfully, or ignorantly, unaware. She pulls off a great performance as usual and has really taken Hollywood by storm lately. Tyler, played by Nicholas Hoult, is a self-proclaimed foodie who idolizes Chef Slowik. He's the guy who takes pictures of his food and obsessively rattles off different flavors and mouthfeels. And by the way, mouthfeel is his term, not mine. The other people invited are made up of food critics, bloggers, business owners, people like that. John Leguizamo plays a washed-up actor who knows little about food, but is just trying to promote a travel food show. His character is hilariously delusional in so many ways. With a private island that serves as a biodome for the world's freshest ingredients, workers who pledge undying loyalty to the chef, and a small band of exclusive guests, it comes across like a twisted Willy Wonka scenario. Okay, well, Willy Wonka is pretty twisted too, but you get my point. Soon enough, we're finally introduced to Chef Slowik, played by Ray Fiennes. What I like about his performance is his ability to be naturally intimidating. He's not a hothead who goes on loud, angry tirades. No, his intimidation comes from the fact that he is always in control. No one talks over him. No one sends their food back. No one questions him. Every word out of his mouth is confident and poetic. And it's this calm confidence that makes people fear him. He even has a Joker-like backstory that he gets into. I swear it wasn't too far off from the Joker's speech in The Dark Knight where he says, "My father was a drinker and a fiend." The majority of the movie takes place inside the restaurant, where Chef Slowik and his cooks prepare several courses throughout the length of the film. The movie's strength is in its pacing, where it slowly descends into madness. It starts innocently enough with a seafood course, but each course of food is supplemented with events that get crazier and crazier over time. Even during events that should seem normal, the musical score and atmosphere always give kind of an unsettling feeling. You also learn a bit more about all the characters, what they do, and why they were handpicked for this, experience? Margot is clearly the outsider from the rest of the group, and we slowly learn about Chef's grand plan that she wasn't supposed to be a part of. There are some twists near the end, and they're mostly done very well. The way things are wrapped up does work, but it wasn't as much of a hard-hitting slam dunk as I hoped it would be. I'll get into that in a second during my spoiler section. All in all, I enjoyed this movie. There's some really good commentary about elitism, the service industry, and the importance of distinguishing passion and obsession. If you like dark, twisty, comedic thrillers like Parasite or Get Out, you'll enjoy this one. Now, onto my spoiler section. I'll be talking about specific scenes near the end of the movie, so if you haven't seen it yet, this is your spoiler warning. Margot and the other diners quickly learn that something is amiss with Chef Slowik's event. Every course represents not just a meal, but a concept of why he is so burned out from being a chef. Why he feels dead inside. Margot is suspicious, and Tyler is obliviously geeking out, but the rest of the diners find some way to either critique the food or try to exploit the experience for their own gain. Sure, the side characters can come across as caricatures, but they do serve the purpose of the overall message. And that message centers around Chef Slowik being exhausted of people taking his work for granted. Slowik is a detail-oriented man who puts his heart and soul into every meal he makes. only to be greeted by ungrateful people who simply consume, critique, and exploit. Now, to be clear, I don't think there's anything wrong with someone critiquing food, or a book, or a movie. But what this film does well is challenge people to step into someone else's shoes. Tyler, for example, wants to believe he's the most knowledgeable foodie around. He arrogantly explains all of the different flavor combinations and textures, only to have Chef Slowick ask him to cook a meal. Predictably, he creates a terrible dish and is berated. This shows just how much work and skill goes into someone's craft, and how many things aren't as easy as they seem. Like I mentioned before, each course is supplemented with a speech from the chef and a life-threatening event. His militant workers keep everyone trapped inside the restaurant, and anyone who tries to leave pays by getting their finger sliced off. The chef realizes that Margot wasn't originally supposed to be a guest there. She's an escort hired by Tyler because he had to have a date in order to come, and his girlfriend had broken up with him. Margot's presence alone messes up the chef's plan because he had a very specific set of events planned for specific people. There's a weird cult-like mentality with his workers, and we really don't get a lot of backstory on why they're so loyal to the chef, to the point that they're willing to die for him. I do wish we could have gotten a little more explanation on that, as well as the twist with Tyler. We find out that Tyler knew the whole time about Chef Slowick planning to kill everyone, but he still went along with it. Just like with the other cooks, we don't get a whole lot on why Tyler was so willing to die for Chef Slowick. Margot does some snooping around the island and breaks into the chef's house. She finds several pictures of him scowling, but finds one where he's actually smiling. And that's when he was a fry cook in the 80s. It's a way to show how his passion for cooking came with simplicity, and that the pressures and demands of celebrity chef life broke him down over the years. The concept of the pictures is a bit on the nose, but it's a clever enough way to get this information across. Margot uses this information to safely leave the island. While Chef Slowick is preparing for his next twisted course, she interrupts him by simply asking for a cheeseburger and requesting a to-go box. It's a cleverly written way to show that she's the only one who truly understands him, and the to-go box is a fun way of her asking to leave. She does great in being able to sort of play along with the performance that he's giving. He grants her request to leave the island, and then proceeds to kill himself and everyone else in probably the silliest way imaginable. For dessert, he makes s'mores. He wraps marshmallow vests around everyone, puts chocolate hats on them, and then blows up the entire restaurant. Yeah, that was a little silly for me. For a movie that had such intense scenes of murder and maiming earlier on, dressing everyone up like a s'more leaned a little bit too far toward the comedic side. I would have liked to seen a little something darker than that. That being said, I really enjoyed this movie, and it's a shame that there hasn't been more marketing and theater slots dedicated towards it. Considering the oversaturation of comic book movies nowadays, I love seeing more original ideas like this, and I'd love to see it reach a wider audience. It's well written, well directed, and well acted. If you're craving a dark and humorous flavor with a side of twists, then this movie will definitely satisfy your craving. Thanks for watching, and I hope you all have a good one.